Have you ever been in a situation where everyone in the room just seems to get it? As in, people are bouncing back and forth with ideas, and deep down, you don't have a clue what is going on. But because you don't want to seem left out, you start to nod your head. You know that nod that you do, yeah, yeah, acting like you understand what these people are on about. But deep down, you don't at all. And you play it off. You play it off quite well, actually. People think, yeah, they understand. But then you leave the room and you feel sometimes even dumb, incompetent, and you're just sat there thinking, am I even meant to be in this room? Now, if that's ever been you, know that you are not alone. Trust me, I've been there, and it's not easy, it's not nice, but you are not alone. Hi, my name is Michelle, and this is the 7 Minutes and Bloom podcast, a space where we will grow together intentionally from the inside out. So, what's actually going on here? But before we talk about what's actually going on here, let's clarify one thing first. You are not incompetent, even though you may feel like it. What's actually going on here is you're trying to fill in the gaps by looking at what everyone else is doing, basing it upon their facial expressions. And there's actually a name for this, and it's called the illusion of transparency. Now, I'm not one to give you fake information, so I'll read up what it says. And the definition for the illusion of transparency is the illusion of transparency occurs when we overestimate the degree to which other people can perceive our personal thoughts, emotions, and mental states. Individuals experiencing this cognitive bias tend to believe that their internal experiences are more visible to others than they actually are. What the illusion of transparency is essentially saying is that we often believe that people can actually see when we are confused or if we feel like we're dumb, etc. But that's not necessarily the case. Okay, there's so many times where you have in your mind that, oh my gosh, this person can see that I'm so nervous. And 99.9% of the time, I promise you, people are more concerned with what they are doing and what they have going on. They can't necessarily see that you feel this way, or they can't necessarily see that, for example, that we gave, that you don't really understand what's going on, despite the fact that you feel that everyone can tell that your nod is fake. So you're probably wondering, okay, cool. If people can't tell that I am, nervous, or people can't tell I feel this way, how do I actually solve this problem? Because I don't want to go into spaces and rooms where I feel confused. I don't want to feel like this because this feeling makes me feel incompetent. This feeling makes me feel unworthy. So how do I actually solve the problem? What is the problem, in fact? And the problem at hand that you have is not necessarily that you're incompetent. No, the issue is that there is a knowledge gap. There is a knowledge gap. Now, what is a knowledge gap? A knowledge gap is defined as the gap is the difference between what you know and what you need to know to perform. Now, knowing that it is a knowledge gap, that is not necessarily you, can make you feel so much better. Why? Because you realize that you are actually competent, and this is just a thing where you just need to bridge the gap, okay? How do you bridge the gap? For example, you're in the room and everyone just seems to get it bar you. What you can then do is the next time that you're in that room, take a notepad, for example. You take a notepad and then you divide your page into 3. And then I want you to write, what was the agenda of what they were talking about? What was the aim of the meeting? What was the agenda? Write that out. If you don't know, that's okay. That is so fine. Find it out. And then I want you to have a section as well where you write any questions or any key terms that you didn't understand. You have that there too. The most important bit, I would argue, is what was the main talking points and why were they talking about it? Ask and write that down. And then at the end of the meeting, I want you to go and find out those answers. And I promise you, once you work through that list, you will become more confident. If you don't understand certain things on that list as well, to take a step further, ask yourself, what do I need to know so that I can understand Z topic? And once you start to do that, you're then able to see what knowledge do you need to acquire for you to become more competent in that area. Because the reality is, confidence comes from competence. And what is competence? Competence is your ability to do a thing. And when you do what I've just said, dividing your page into three, etc., asking those questions, even when it's hard, you are developing and building up that competence muscle. And I promise you, that is when you will feel more confident. Why? Because you're building up your skill set. A lot of the times, it's not because we are incompetent, it's because we don't know a certain thing. And that's where those feelings of inadequacy or those feelings that I'm not meant to be in a room can arise. But by doing this, by breaking your page into three, by asking the hard questions, even when you feel embarrassed, that is when you build up those skills. So you can then walk into that room, that space, that environment, feeling confident. And when you nod your head, you're nodding it for real this time. You are nodding it for real. People will be like, she or he knows his stuff. And the threat is you will. But again, it's not about what people are thinking. It's not what about people perceive of us. No, that's not the case. It's how we feel about ourselves. It's how we develop our skills and our knowledge to be good in an area. So let's bring this all back together. You can be in a room and feel incompetent. And what is actually going on here? It is a knowledge gap. You need to close that gap. And that takes you asking questions, hard questions, even when it feels uncomfortable. Confidence comes from competence. Now, each episode, I like to leave you guys with a bloom tip. And this episode, your bloom tip is, don't make a mistake. That knowledge gap means a lack of ability. Now, this has been your 7 Minutes and Bloom podcast. Take a moment to sit with what we have just discussed. And when you are ready to go deeper, subscribe to the newsletter in the show notes.